connectivity.
We're just about to go live.
Can I remind Councillor Tony Ty, Councillor Saxon, Councillor Danny Brooks, your microphones are still on. Okay, everybody's muted, thank you.
We're now live.
Okay, good evening, everybody. Welcome to this meeting on Wednesday, the 7th of October 2020 via Zoom conference, 7 p.m. the Town Council meeting. Agenda item number 1, minutes of the last meeting are attached to receive, consider and adopt, or otherwise the minutes of the meeting of the Extraordinary Council held on Wednesday, the 16th of September.
Yeah, I'll move it, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Anderson. Do I have a seconder, please?
Second that, Mr. Mayor.
All in favour, please show on your virtual hands, please. Carried, thank you very much. Agenda item number 2, to note apologies received by the Town Clerk prior to the meeting. Town Clerk?
We have apologies, Mayor, from Councillor J. Brooks, S. Emson, P. Sutton, and Councillor S. Kirk said that he will probably be late to the meeting.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to agenda item number 3, to receive declarations of interest. Councillor Cunnington, you got your hand up, but I think you probably didn't lower that one. Councillor Dennis?
Yeah, good evening, Mr. Mayor. During the financial thing, I shall blank my screen off. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. We have no one. If you'd like to lower your hand, Councillor Dennis, on the virtual screen, thank you. Okay, moving on to agenda item number 4, public participation. Residents of Skegness are invited to send questions by email about any item on the published agenda to info@skegness.council.org UK no later than noon on Tuesday, the 6th of October. These will be published with the minutes together with the Council's response. Any comments relevant to the Council decision will be read out during the item, but limited to no more than 1 per resident, and the total number what can be achieved in 15 minutes, chosen in accordance with the order received. Town Clerk?
Mayor, yes, we've got a letter that is in relation to the agenda item on Remembrance Sunday. What I would suggest is, so that it's easier to address the points, is if I read it out at the appropriate agenda point, and then we can respond to that at that time as well.
Okay, thank you. We will do that. Moving on to agenda item number 5, the Town Mayor's announcements and correspondence. As you know, we've been busy just doing meetings and things, so there's nothing in the calendar. And everything that is happening is shown on the webpage or Facebook or Twitter side. Agenda item number 6, schedule of payments for approval. List of payments and bank reconciliations attached. Do we have any questions?
Yeah, I'll move it, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Burnham?
Yeah, could the Town Clerk explain what playground repairs were?
Yes, the playground repairs relate to the Tower Gardens playground, and they included the zip wire and the basket swing. There will be some further repairs in there because there was another broken piece of equipment this month as well, so there'll be a further one coming up.
Thank you. Councillor Dan Kirk?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A question for the clerk, if possible. The Jolly Fisherman painting restoration, is that on budget, below budget, or over budget, please?
Town Clerk, please.
The grant that we received was £4,000. And in addition to that, the council agreed to pay an additional £1,000 as its contribution. But the figure in here, 5258, includes that, which we will collect back the VAT. So overall, it should be on budget.
Thank you. Councillor Mark Anderson.
Thank you. Just a question to the town clerk. 27th August 20, Izettle AB, Skegness Town Council paid in 217.99, and the 28th Izettle AB 67.50. Can I ask what Izettle AB is?
I don't think those are, I think they from the minutes, those ones, the August ones are from the minutes, but generally, just as a general response, iZettle is the electronic payment, card payment facility that we have now at the council, and that serves both the cafe, and it also serves the town council offices, because we can now take payments for things like.
So that's an income generator coming in. We can see that as an income generator.
We pay them. We pay them a fee.
Oh right, okay, because it's got paid in, not paid out. That's what confused me.
Oh, whereabouts are you looking on the bank account?
Lloyd's Bank. Sorry, Lloyd's Bank.
Oh right, yes, that's money coming in. They pay us money every day. So every day there's takings, and every day they will make some payments. But obviously that excludes any cash payments or payments by cheque or anything like that we would get. That doesn't come through that route.
So that is money coming into the council's coffers.
It is, yeah.
Thank you.
You might see payments on the actual payment schedule from time to time, which are iZettle, which are the payments, the fees we pay iZettle for managing the card payment solution.
I understand that. Yeah. Thank you.
Councillor Saxon. Councillor Saxon, still got your microphone. That's it. Can hear you. Yeah.
Okay. No. Yeah. Just one thing, town clerk. Tomlinson's again, £438.90 on the 22nd of last month. Construction costs. What were these costs? What were the not involved? I mean, it's finished, isn't it? Apart from the money we pay out. What were it for repairs? What was it for?
No. It's part of the. We haven't yet done the final account. So these are residual payments from the construction where certain works hadn't been completed. They completed post handover. So a bit like retention amounts for those things that hadn't been done. And there's I think there's one more payment which will be coming through in front of you before it's pretty much complete then.
Yeah, so it's cost then. It's not repair cost then. It says construction costs. What was it repairs? Was it something that was wrong? Was it leaking? What was it?
No. It was the landscaping wasn't completed on time. Therefore, we held the money back. As the landscaping has been developed, we had the planting late, and there were concerns over whether or not some of the plants would survive the grass, quality of the grass and things like that. So we retained some amounts of money, which we've been paying off as they've been coming down to do bits of remedial work and bits of maintenance on the actual plants and grass, which has been happening each month. So that's what these amounts are for, to finalize just those final bits. The main construction work is finished, but this was just a tiny part of that overall contract, which is still outstanding.
Thank you. Councillor Tony Ty.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Another question for the town clerk. I see that we've got calf cleaning. We've got it down as £82.56, 123.26, and on the same day, 26.96. could you just explain the calf cleaning, please?
Well, these are all the cleaning materials that we have to purchase. The actual cleaning itself is carried out by the cafe staff. But in terms of cleaning materials, I mean, we are getting through quite a bit of not only cleaning materials, but things like hand sanitizers and sanitizing wipes for all of the surfaces. And then we've got other things like dishwasher.
Yeah. So basically it's all to do with the COVID.
It's all cleaning materials.
Okay, that's great. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anybody else? Anybody else got any questions on this? Councillor Tony Ty, you still left your hand up.
Thank you.
Okay, we've got proposed that we moved it. Did Councillor Danny Brooks?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just to reiterate what the clerk said, I've spent over £1,000 on hand sanitizer and that sort of thing. So that's that's not acceptable, but that's what we've got to do, unfortunately, or fortunately, whichever way you look at it. Thank you.
Councillor Brooks, I looked at it and thought it was quite cheap, to be honest, because I'm spending more money than that myself. Okay, so I think, Councillor, did you move that, Councillor Anderson?
Yes, I did.
Yes. Have I got a seconder, please?
I'll second it.
Okay, thank you. All in favour, please raise your virtual hands.
Not a virtual hand.
Okay, thank you. Agenda item number 7, councillor questions to the Mayor. None received. Agenda item number 8, questions to comments from the Lincolnshire Police representative. Question from Councillor Anderson.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Do you want me to read it, or do you want them?
Yes, please.
Yeah. The question I asked was, in your answer to my question regarding hate crimes in Skegness, you said that at our last council meeting there were 96 hate crimes in 1 year, 2019-20, with 2 convictions. How does this compare to other crimes in Skegness?
Mayor, the inspector, Inspector Barnsley, was, I believe, intending to join the meeting with Sergeant Harrison. I don't know why they haven't. We had some correspondence just earlier, late this afternoon, and certainly they were intending to join at that time and then only stay for that until that item, but they haven't appeared. So whether or not they've been called out or have got a problem getting the connection to work, I don't know. But obviously they haven't appeared as yet. I did circulate just before the meeting, or I sent to Councillor Anderson some information. I haven't had the opportunity of looking at it myself, but we can include that response within the minutes of this meeting. I know Councillor Anderson had some other points that he wanted to raise on that particular information that had been provided.
Could I quickly, Mr. Mayor, because this is important to the victims of hate crimes, and thank you for the clerk for emailing me, and I'm sorry that other councillors can't see the spreadsheet that I've got in answer to my question. But looking through the various columns, the biggest crime factor in Skegness regarding local policing is shoplifting, which has had 58, and public disorder, which has 46 in 1 year. So the biggest amount of crimes in Skegness and surrounding areas is hate crimes. I feel, had me being a victim as well as other victims, we need to have answers from the police, and I intend to pursue this with vigour. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Richard Cunnington.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Can I just ask Councillor Anderson, because he broke up a little bit there, the figures he just quoted, are they the amount of crimes or the amount of convictions? And has he got the convictions for those two if they weren't the convictions? Thank you.
Councillor Anderson.
Yes, as I said, the crimes for Skegness on shoplifting, those people that were charged, as I said, were 58. That's the highest number. I think what needs, the town clerk will email this to you because I'm having to read it out on my phone, off my phone, I should say. Those charged with public disorder were 46. And then you've got the various headings of summons, offence charged. If you go through, say, shoplifting, I'll go through that column. Summoned people were 36. Alternative offence charge was 1. Various items. It's hard to break down on my phone, Mr. Mayor, but it make interesting reading for all councillors to see this, to see what crimes are being done in Skegness and the police response to these crimes.
Okay, thank you. I will. We will wait for the information from the town clerk when he's had time to have a look at it, and then we go from there, Councillor Anderson. But until we've all seen that, then we've got to, like yourself, you only received it just before the meeting, so we'll pick up on that again. Councillor Saxon. Councillor Saxon.
These hate crimes, are they not necessarily racial motivated? Are they classed as hate crimes or racial hate crimes?
Councillor Anderson.
Hate crimes are defined under the 2010 Equalities Act, Mr. Mayor. If Councillor Saxon Googles that 2010 Equalities Act, it will give you the columns what hate crimes come under. There are various columns or issues of hate crimes with race, LGBT, domestic, all sorts of different crimes under the Equality Act of 2010.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, does that 96 then reflect all of them? That was my question to you, Mark.
Yes.
Right.
He's nodding his head, so that's yes, Councillor Saxon. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to agenda item number 9. Reports from the council representative to the outside bodies attached. Councillor Billy Brooks.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, I'm just Mr. Mayor, I didn't actually submit this thing, and we've not had a meeting as of yet. However, yeah, it's just a document to as it is.
Okay, I've just read that it was provided by Councillor Brooks, and my computer was freezing and unfreezing or doing something. So we've got the Environmental Agency Lincolnshire Beach Management work in front of you. Are there any questions? And we've got the Connected Coast agenda for the papers for the 30th of September project assessment provided by Councillor Tye. We've got Councillor Anderson with his hand up.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, and thanks for giving us the information, Councillor Brooks, regarding what's the beach management works for 2020 and additional investigation and maintenance work. It's nice to see that we have ongoing beach nourishment and beach issues regarding flooding going on in Skegness. Mr. Mayor, I'm going to divert a bit because the other night, okay, I saw on Look North, Lincolnshire County Council, the leader, Martin Hill, and Councillor Colin Davey actually condemning East Lindsey District Council regarding their new order for extending the season. And they were siding with the Environment Agency, objecting to the new order that East Lindsey was putting in place. I'm a bit concerned about the language used by Lincolnshire County Council when they're stating that their concern was, flooding in Skegness. When we have got beach nourishment programs going ahead at the public expense to prevent flooding, and then we have COVID coming on, and then we have jobs at risk, livelihoods at risk, and there you have the leader of Lincolnshire County Council condemning that, and also Councillor Colin Davey, who's the portfolio holder for economic and development, meaning job creation and also saving jobs, actually saying that the season should be closed and people should lose their jobs and be made redundant. I just cannot understand where these people are coming from. Most of these sites that East Lindsey have given, as you know, have given permission to or wanting to extend the season have plans in action. They have to, as part of the risk assessment. These people live in cloud cuckoo land, as far as I'm concerned, and they're not looking after our welfare.
Thank you, Councillor Anderson. I think you put it better than me because I did read the same article, but I won't share my views with you while we're live. Councillor Danny Brooks.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I totally agree with Councillor Anderson. To watch Councillor Martin Hills and Councillor Colin Davey saying that, in 53, 40 people died. Yes, they did, and it was a sad loss. However, none died in Skegness, and the sea defences are vastly, vastly improved since 1953. We now have a seawall, we have beach nourishment, as Councillor Anderson said. For them, and also economic growth, for them to actually say, no, we want Skegness shut, I thought was disgraceful. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Sid Dennis.
I totally agree with the last two speakers. I thought it was an absolute disgrace. I've been knocking my pipe out on policy, lobbying people to extend the season. We need it desperately. And those people come up, and it's like the Councillor Anderson and Danny have said, it was an absolute disgrace to listen to the portfolio holder for growth on the coast condemn our children are living. It's absolutely scandalous, is all I can say. It was absolutely scandalous, and I agree with both parties. Ridiculous.
Fully agree. I can't echo it enough myself. As we know that when we're taking advice, when we flood in June, July last year, we flood because they don't dredge the drains and that. And I think there's bigger issues to try and worry about. And people are struggling. They are losing their jobs. Going into a different thing, it's sad to learn today that 900 at the airports, over 3 airports, and 800 people at Green King. So this is just the start of it. So, we need to start opening up more and doing a bit more to help these businesses. Councillor Dan Kirk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm not going to echo what is strong language. We all, I think, are in favour of that position. Coming back to the report, I think it's fantastic to have such a comprehensive report detailing the nourishment and the defence checks that they're going to be doing. So I'd like to propose that we note the report, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We've just got another report connected agenda papers in front of us. Do you want to take them on? Do we take them on block, Town Clerk, or both together, or do we individual?
You can take them on, note them both if there's no questions. We have got the town funds later on the agenda with an update on that, so we can discuss it a bit more then.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we've got a report connected coast agenda. Councillor Tony Ty.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Well, it's now gone off to government. All 5 in the green, all 5 projects in the green are going through, and in the future, if any money comes available, along with private enterprise money, they'll all be put through as well. The Heritage Fund will take on board for the Tower Park, our park. That has been added to that fund. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Danny Brooks, still got your hand up. It's probably from last time, and Councillor Dennis has. If you,
Sorry, Mr. Mayor.
so I thought so. Councillor Anderson, please.
Yeah, thank you. Could we have the actual timetable? I heard that Councillor Ty said that the bids have been gone through to the government for them to be scrutinised. Have we got the timetable from when we're likely to hear anything?
Councillor Ty.
I think Councillor Dennis was leaving, so I think he may have the answers.
Okay, Councillor Dennis, could you answer that for us, please?
I think end of October. I think we'll know how we're getting on. It goes to scrutiny, and then it'll have to come back to us. I think it's the end of October. But it's all gone off well. We've also had we've received the 750,000 advance funding, so that's been paid to both 500,000 to Mablethorpe and 750,000 to us in Skegness. We've got that money in the coffers, so that money will commence doing that work along the pull over there.
Thank you. Okay, can we have a proposal that we note these two reports, please?
Yeah, I'm happy enough to second it.
So we had a proposal and a second. All in favour, please show on your virtual hands. Thank you very much. Thank you. Carried. Moving on to agenda item number 10, reports by district and county councillors. None received. Agenda item number 11, motions. Motions that Skegness Town Council write to Lincolnshire Clinical Commissioning Group, Public Health England, and Health Secretary and Matt Warman, the MP, to express how dismayed and outraged we are with the decision by Lincolnshire Community Health Trust to continue to close Skegness Hospital urgent care during the night. This action by the Trust leaves the Skegness residents with no health cover during the night and in the middle of a pandemic. This action is totally unacceptable, as health services should be ramping up and not decreasing with winter approaching. The proposer, Councillor Mark Anderson, please.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. First and foremost, can I reserve my right to reply, if needed be, after the debate? It's with much regret, Mr. Mayor, that I'm having to put this motion together here to be heard tonight. I thought that under the new realm, when the community of Lincolnshire Health Trust took over Skegness Hospital, we wouldn't see a downgrading of services. I say that because there is a downgrading not only of night closure in Skegness Hospital, but also pulling out of services at Skegness Hospital, especially ophthalmology, which is eye treatment. We have not been consulted. The community has not been consulted about any of these issues. And I know it's on the agenda on the next item about Lincolnshire Community Health, Louth and Skegness survey. Not consulted, a survey. I did not know, and I doubt any other Skegness council knew, that Skegness Hospital had closed in March this year. I only found out when I heard about the survey. We were led to believe many years ago, when the A&E department was downgraded to urgent care, that nurse practitioners would be put in place to cover at night, that there wasn't a need for doctors to be present. I cannot understand how you can close an urgent care centre down in a town that has a static population of 23,000, plus we have, or we will be extending the season, so we have people in caravans, and leave us with no health cover at night and tell us to call 111 and talk to a person at the end of the phone in the middle of a pandemic. Only tonight on Look North, you had Tony McGinty, the Assistant Director of Public Health of Lincolnshire, saying he was frightened about the pressure on the communities because of the increase in coronavirus. Luckily for us, we don't have a large amount of coronavirus in this town, but that we have other issues in this town. What happens if an elderly person falls, trips, hits their head? What happens if a child has a fever at night? What happens if a person has asthma and needs attention? What happens if somebody has a cut or a bruise that is working nights in Skegness or working in the early hours of the morning? What happens? Do they just call 111 and wait 6 hours for an ambulance to call? It's outrageous, absolute outrageous. It's promises and lies and lies and lies. We should be ramping up our health services here, but not downgrading it in a pandemic. And I'll leave it for there, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Just before I bring the seconder, Councillor Danny Brooks in, Councillor Billy Brooks, you got your hand up. Did you want to make a comment or? No, okay, thank you. Councillor Danny Brooks.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I've no problem seconding this motion. I can understand when in March when they went to shutting at night because everybody was locked in the houses. But now we are back to a relative new normal. So people are out and about. And also when they shut the hospital in March, it was before we had the Nightingale hospitals, shut at this because we need to concentrate on what elsewhere. Well, now they've got nearly 9,000 extra COVID beds in the Nightingale hospitals. I don't see why we should be now suffering, especially as the residents are back to a new normal. And I just think that this is a cloak and dagger trick to shut overnight for good. You've only got to look elsewhere in the country. This will be a temporary closure for now, and then it will be another temporary closure in March, and then another one in October next year. And then eventually they're hoping that we will have forgot that we need a hospital at night, except for the poor people that have needed the hospital at night and had to go to Boston or Lincoln or even further afield. I think it's a disgrace. And I think 9,000 new beds, everyone's back to normal. Now, if we was back in lockdown and nobody was going out, no problem. But right now, we need a hospital and we need it through the night. Thank you. I reserve my right to speak.
Thank you, Councillor Brooks. Councillor Adrian Finlay, please.
Yeah, I'd just like to say I fully support this, and it needs worded quite strongly and all. For me personally, when I heard about it, I thought it was absolutely outrageous. The fact the previous conversation we've just had this evening, based on there's more infrastructure in the town, there's new businesses into town, there's great development plan for the town, more housing for the town, the population's going to increase. And then all of a sudden this comes at us with all the great plans we've got. This all of a sudden comes at us, and the population will increase, and we've got less services. Like Mark Anderson says, to care for them if needed, and to go to places that further afield. It does take time, which eventually, in some crucial cases, can cost lives. So it's I totally agree with the motion entirely, and I think dig our heels in and make sure it doesn't close, for the sake of ourselves and the residents, ultimately. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Dunkirk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll try and keep it nice and succinct. I agree with every comment 100% so far. The fact that we have a local service out of hours, it is the only out of hours service. And if you do have a young child that's got a fever or something like that, it can very, very quickly escalate to life-threatening fits and things like that. If we don't have a health provision that's local, it's likely to detract and put off residents that don't have access to transport at night, that, oh my goodness, it's a 45-minute drive at 2 in the morning. Oh, we'll just wait for the doctors in the morning. No, because that's when, you know, issues can happen. I'm going to propose that we support the motion as is. I'm very confident that we can second it, and hopefully we can try and get something in place. I mean, just for example, I believe, okay, fair enough, there might be short-staffed, I get that, but I'd rather have somebody, even if it's just a receptionist, that can triage with a qualified doctor over the phone if there's something urgent, or do they need an ambulance? We need somebody. Nurse practitioners, if they're short in supply, fine. A nurse, a normal nurse, would, I believe, it's better than nothing. And we've had no consultation at all about this. There's got to be somebody that could help in our area, and I don't think shutting the doors is good enough. So yeah, propose that we support the motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Edgington, please.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think that this motion is absolutely spot on. What I find so depressing is we're getting more and more distant from actual contact with the medical profession. I mean, for instance, at one time, you could get doctors to come out at night if somebody was ill, say a child on that. Now, home visits are almost as rare as hen's teeth, so to speak, aren't they? And this particular one here, I mean, this motion is, we've got to support this motion. As has been said, I think, by Councillor Anderson, we're a town of 20-odd thousand people, resident population. That multiplies many times during the season. The fact is that if for whatever reason, you need to have some medical provision through the hour, through the night time in case it's required. And you can't keep ringing up 101 all the time, 111, whatever it is, because it's a poor substitute for the real thing. So I would support Councillor Kirk's motion to support this. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Tony Chai.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, I fully support this motion. I think it's absolutely criminal. This totally smacks of Grantham. This is what they did there. They closed the A&E in the evenings, and they struggled. They're still struggling. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Cunnington.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I can only fully agree with all of the councillors. One big point that Councillor Kirk actually picked up on, which I was going to mention and fully support, is the distance and the inconvenience in travelling. Your nearest hospital is Boston. It's the only one that's got any transport links, and those aren't very good. You get the train, you get off at the train station, you've got a good 10 minutes to get back to the hospital. So yeah, we really need to enforce the fact that we haven't got transport links to another hospital. All the more reason to keep ours.
Thank you. Councillor Billy Brooks.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd just like to echo what everyone else has said. At the end of the day, we never know when we're going to need these facilities, and we've got to hope that we don't need them, but to not have them there is ridiculous.
Yeah, fully agree. Thank you. Councillor Saxon, please. Councillor Saxon.
Yes, I fully support this. And if you remember, many years ago, we had to march down Lumley Avenue and shut it off, Lumley Road, because there's Scarborough Road. This nighttime cover is essential. We're a holiday resort, top holiday resort with thousands of visitors. And you're saying, well, if you're ill at night, you've got to go to Boston. And they're on demand anyway. Grantham they close it at night now. Bridlington was the same. We don't want to be another casualty. We need to really force this through. It's just, we need it back. Thank you.
Thank you. I think, you know, we are understand where we are with this. Everybody's in support of this. So if you just want to come back quickly, Councillor Anderson, but I don't think there's much more to say.
Yeah, I just want to thank everyone for supporting the motion, and the residents will be looking at us, Mr. Mayor, to fight this. I just want to remind, because Grantham has been mentioned, I was on the trust board when the proposal was first mooted back in 2003 with regards to Grantham A&E. Skegness and Grantham are completely different. If you look at the radius of where Grantham is and the hospitals that serve Grantham, you have Peterborough 18 miles down the road. You have 2 A&E facilities in Nottingham just down the road. That is the Queen's Med and Nottingham City Hospital. You have Lincoln 18 miles down the road. Then you have Stamford Urgent Care, and then you have Spalding Johnson, which the town clerk says to me is shut at night. You have 4 district and university hospitals surrounding Grantham. We have 1, and that is Boston. There's a huge difference. We have no GP cover, so we have absolutely no cover except for an ambulance service and dialing 111 and getting through to a call centre. It is third world service, and it's not on. We were promised that this would not happen, and yet it is yet again.
Thank you. So we've got full support. We've had it proposed and seconded that we go ahead with this motion. So all in favour, please raise your hands. Thank you. That's carried. Moving on to agenda item number 12, Lincolnshire Community Health Service Louth and Skegness survey attached.
Mayor, can I just interrupt a second? The police have now joined us. I understand that there were some technical difficulties, plus also there was a problem with the invitation that they had. They are now here, and I'm wondering whether, with council's permission, whether you wanted to open that agenda item so that those questions could be put directly.
Yes, we got anybody to propose? Happy for me to do that? Move back to agenda item number 4, I do believe, was it?
How's that, Mr. Mayor?
It was agenda item number 8. So you've proposed that, Councillor Cunnington?
Please.
Yeah, are you all in favour of that, please show? Okay, thank you. We'll just go back to agenda item number 4 then to Councillor Anderson and his question.
Yeah, I'm no need to repeat the question, Mr. Mayor. I think I'll have the response from the police if they're present. Thank you.
Okay, I can't actually see where they are. So who have we got? Town clerk, sorry. It's not coming up on my screen.
We have Inspector Barnsley and Sergeant Harrison.
Okay, good evening to you both.
Good evening.
Good evening. If we could have the we've got the question. I'm struggling to see on my list. So we could have the inspector first, if you'd like to.
Yeah, I have sent through a table of statistics through. It was unfortunately quite late on today that my data officer has managed to produce that. I'm not sure if anybody's had sight of that.
Yes, as I said, Mr. Mayor, I have the town clerk actually gave me this. It makes interesting reading, to say the least, with regard to my previous questions and the information that was supplied to me regarding the amount of hate crimes in Skegness and surrounding area of 93, I believe, not 96. I do apologise, in 1 year. And that is based on the actual information that has been sent to me, which I've had 5 minutes to look at, stating the next highest number of crimes in the column is shoplifting, which is 58, followed by public disorder, which is 46. And then you can go down for yourselves, because the other councillors have not got these statistics in front of them, which to me is interesting but very depressing when I see these figures.
Inspector, please.
Yeah, I mean, in relation to the figures, we don't just, I know that you've referred to the 2 convictions. There is a number of other outcomes that are listed on, I think, the information that you've been privy to. So there's 8 positive outcomes, as we refer to them. So it's not necessarily a conviction. It could well be a caution, a restorative justice, and we're very much victim-led in the fact that if, you know, the victim could sometimes say, we don't want anyone spoken to. So we often have to respect those wishes. But I mean, overall, I would say that we really do deal with hate crimes. They're addressed every morning at our morning meetings. So we check the incidents in the last 24 hours, and hate crime is top on the agenda. If we've had a hate crime, it's brought up to the senior management team for them to have an oversight on. So I do want to assure you, Councillor Anderson, that they are taken very, very seriously and investigated thoroughly.
Can I respond to that, Mayor?
Yes, please do.
Okay. Thank you, Inspector, for what you just said. Being the victim of myself, I don't echo what you just said, but speaking to other victims in Skegness the way that I have, not just regarding race, but other hate crimes that are in Skegness, they don't have the confidence that you just portrayed. And I have to say that hand on heart after speaking to LBGT groups, other people that have been victims of these crimes and left alone and be subjected to this and left to linger and have this scar for the rest of their lives with this disgraceful crime, which seems to me to be on the increase and is in Skegness. It seems to be increasing against other crimes that you've sent information to.
I mean, if there is any individual that wants to contact me directly, I'm more than happy to take on board any concerns, review any investigations that have taken place. You know, that's all I can say. If people don't come to us directly and say they're not happy with the outcome of an investigation, then a review won't take place.
Can I quickly come back and I thank the Inspector for what she just said, but looking at myself and other people that I've been speaking, they don't have the confidence that you will take the investigations further because we have been let down by you.
Again, all I can say, Councillor Anderson, is I'm really disappointed to hear that. Obviously, we don't want the community to feel let down. That's why we come to work every day, to make things better, to help people. We certainly don't want people to feel let down.
Thank you, Inspector. And I'll apologise for not being able to see you on my screen, you and Sergeant Harrison. Got you up as a number now, number 3 on my screen, but I apologise. Councillor Cunnington, you've got your hand up.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, I didn't realise I had, but yeah,
right.
Is it all right to forward a question to the police while they're here with us?
Well, now's as good a time than ever.
Oh, that's all right.
They'll be able to give you an answer on the spot.
Yeah, just wondering, and you probably can't answer the question on the spot, have we had any fines issued in Skegness for COVID? And if so, roughly how many? Thank you.
Inspector, please.
We certainly have had fines issued. I can't furnish you with the actual figures off the top of my head, unfortunately, so I do apologise. I'm not sure if Sergeant Harrison is aware.
I wouldn't be able to give you the figures because the circumstances go back towards the end of March, when the initial lockdown came into force and the new government guidelines and powers that the police were given. So without interrogating the systems, I wouldn't be able to be specific. But what I can tell you is that the neighbourhood policing team and local officers have proactively targeted this. We have gone along the lines of the 4 E's, which is the explain, encourage, engage and enforce if necessary. And a lot of the people we've dealt with have taken the 4 E's on board, so it's not always been appropriate to issue fines. That said, we have definitely issued fines, numerous of them. I just can't give you the figures without that research taking place.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Saxon. Councillor Saxon.
I'm back again. Yeah. Well, Councillor Anderson it's one of his pet subjects, I know. But what I'm saying, I asked the question earlier, are these mostly racial or are they ultimately, most, you know, councillors seem to say and before that they thought they were all racial and then the LBG and everybody else. And I thought that could be a question to you. Thank you.
Inspector?
Yeah, in relation to that, they do vary in relation to, you know, the homophobic kind of incidents that we get as well. I don't know what the actual ratio of split is, but I can try and find out and get that split down. It's really difficult because we classify them as hate crimes, but I'm sure that my data officer somehow will be able to break them down further into whether it's sexual orientation, race, etc. So if you can leave that one with me, I'll certainly endeavour to break those figures down, but I can't make any promises.
Thank you very much.
Much appreciated.
Mr.
Councillor
Mayor,
Finlay?
Sorry.
Councillor Finlay, please.
Yeah, I'd just like to ask, if I can, please, how many resident active officers do we have in Skegness at any one time in the evening and in the daytime, in season and out of season? Because when you ring up for an incidents stretch into the hundreds, and it'd be nice to know that you've got enough officers to cover that amount of incidents over a 24-hour period, please. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, the incident numbers will do stretch into hundreds. That's county-wide and not just for the East. Our resourcing is being addressed, as I'm sure that you've seen in the media, with our Horizons uplift, with the additional recruitment of officers. I can't say that, you know, we have a preferred staffing level at certain times of the day, and we do try to maintain those standards.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite a difficult question to answer directly. For example, how the resourcing is managed. We have a preferred staffing level across East Lindsey, and then that's broken down into areas of East Lindsey, Skegness, Mablethorpe, Horncastle, Louth. So we run as a district as East Lindsey. So those officers can be pooled anywhere within that district. So for example, we may have 4 officers on an early turn, 4 officers on a late turn, 4 officers on a night turn that might be Skegness officers. And if the demand at that time is in Skegness, that's where the officers will remain. If Skegness is quiet on that occasion and the demand moves elsewhere, then those officers might be deployed to an incident in Mablethorpe. Those Louth officers might be deployed to an incident in Horncastle. So it's a difficult one to say. It's easy to say there's 4 officers, but it's a much bigger picture than that. Then, oh no, there's only 4 in Skegness, when it's not really the true reflection of what we're faced with. And of course, then we've got further afield around the county. You know, there's been occasions during lockdown where police incidents have been quite low, and the demand further in different places of the county have been quite high. So we've moved officers around. We can also have occasions where we may have heavy demand with few officers. We can have occasions where we've got little demand with many officers, which then gives them that opportunity to be much more proactive and go out there seeking different types of core business. Your stop searches, your vehicle stops, your drink drivers, and so things move forward from there. If it's an extremely high demand, numerous incidents coming in the height of summer, then those proactive duties might go on the back burner whilst we deal with what we call the Thrive model, the threat, risk and harm that we prioritise as required. So that's a summary, but I can't say at any one time how many officers are where specifically, because it's all based on threat, risk, harm and demand for the area.
Thank you, Sergeant Harrison. Councillor Dankirk, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to thank the officers for coming and attending this meeting and answering our questions. Thank you so very much. And also a huge thanks in such precedented times with the additional pressures that I'm sure you guys are under. Now, normally our police representatives like to share some recent success stories of operations and key targets and key focuses that you've been having. I'm just wondering if at all you've got any recent success stories that would be worth letting us know about? Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, as I'm sure that you appreciate, obviously the current situation has kind of curbed a lot, but we are certainly focusing at the minute on our fatal four. As you'll have seen, there's been a rise in the road traffic collisions and serious injury recently. So we have been doing quite a lot of proactive work in relation to speeding, wearing of seat belts, drink and drive, and driving whilst on the phone. So we've had some targeted patrols in relation to that. We've been doing some good work as the neighbourhoods in relation to antisocial behaviour. We're currently looking at a number of legislations that we haven't brought in, or certainly not frequently anyway, to try and make people's lives a bit better. So we've got some things ongoing at the minute that are going well. But if there's anything that people think that we should be focusing on, then please let us know.
Okay, thank you. Right, I'll just bring Councillor Anderson back in. Just before I do, I'd like to thank the Inspector Barnsley and Sergeant Harrison for attending tonight, because I know you've got things to do and be busy. So if Mark Anderson would just like to come back quickly, because I know that they will be busy and need to get on.
Very, very quickly, in answer to Councillor Saxon, the actual data that I've got, which was supplied by the police, was 93 for race crimes in 1 year, but not other hate crimes. That hasn't been included. So obviously the inspector's going to come back with the full number in a year. It'd be interesting to see. And the other question or information I want to give in actually going behind, I've forgotten the name of the road, where Argos, the back end of Argos, Mr. Mayor, perhaps you can remind me the name of the road.
Prince George Street. Prince George Street.
Yep. There's a group there of people behind Weatherspoons who congregate there, and they are drunk, disorderly, and not social distancing, causing a danger to other residents in the town.
Thank you, Inspector.
Councillor Anderson, it's Sergeant Harrison. We are aware of this community issue. It's a work in progress, so to speak. We've had it for many years on and off. The teams are aware. They do target the area. They do regular proactive and positive patrols around the area, stop, check and deal with people appropriately. But the big one for me, which often we lack, is the people reporting it. We need the reports to come in from members of the public, because the more reports we get, the more evidence we can present to bid for extra resourcing, for additional funding, for example. But what I don't want to happen is the people of Skegness to accept what they may perceive as an eyesore and just not bother. It's extremely important that they do report it, because I'm well aware that we've done numerous patrols and interactions with said groups throughout a shift period, and we've not had one report during that shift from any members of the public, albeit those members of the public may have seen these incidents and just carried on with their daily business. So my ask would be to get that message out there and make sure that as soon as people are seeing this antisocial behaviour or public order incidents taking place, get straight on to us and we'll target as actively as we can.
Can I just quickly answer that? I did do that and called 101, and the call system is just impossible to get through. It's an appalling system, not targeted to you, but it is the call system and the people that you speak to in the call centre. To get through to your control centre and get something done, people just give up.
Thank you. Well, I'd like to. We're going to conclude that. The officer, Inspector Barnsley and Sergeant Harrison, have kindly joined us in the end and answered the questions and on the spot. So I'd like to thank them both for that and for their good work that they are doing. And like we say, we keep telling the residents that we must report these, otherwise you're never going to get extra funding if crime rates aren't there. So I'd like to thank you both for attending.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And for your time. So I thank you for coming tonight.
Thank you. Good night, all.
Good night. Thank you. Okay, we'll move back on to agenda item number 12, Lincolnshire Community Health Service Louth and Skegness survey, which is attached. Councillor Anderson.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Obviously, I'm just going to move it be noted. I just find this amazing that if you look at the survey, which I have done today, and if you take the time to fill it in, it's June-ish, it's primary, and treating us like idiots, basically. And yes, people need to fill it in, but I think we need to make sure that residents actually fill it in, but also that there is a bigger agenda going on here, as what the motion said earlier on, which we all supported. Thank you.
Thank you. So we've had it proposed that we note it. Do we have a seconder? Anybody else wishing to comment? Councillor, do we have a seconder that we note it? Report. Councillor Dankirk.
Yeah, we've got to all fill this in. I've spent the time, the 10 minutes it takes to fill it in. I urge every councillor and every member of the public possible to complete the survey, and I propose that we note the survey request. Thank you.
You seconded it. Thank you.
Second.
So all in favour, please show. That's carried. Thank you. Moving on to agenda item number 13, policies reviews attached. To approve otherwise recently reviewed policies, HR policies including overarching HR, absence, capability, disciplinary, grievance, suspension, training and pay policy statement, health and safety policy, cemetery policy. It's attached. Councillor Burnham.
No, sorry, I must have left my hand up.
Councillor Edgington. Councillor Edgington.
I apologise for that. I left the hand up in error. Sorry.
Okay, so Councillor Dankirk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. These are very succinct and clear, only minor modifications to include content that relates to our current COVID situation. I did notice a typographical error on page number 3, fourth paragraph, that relates to the chairman of the HR committee also having a chairman of said chairman. Which I'm sure we don't need that additional level of bureaucracy, I'm sure. But other than that, I'm happy to propose that we adopt all the policies en bloc. Thank you.
Okay, I think the town clerk's seen that with a smile on his face. He's noticed it. Councillor Mark Anderson.
Yeah, thank you. I'm happy to en bloc. I've read through the policies, and well done to Councillor Kirk. When I read through, I didn't spot it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So we've got a proposal and a seconder. All in favour, please show. That's carried. Thank you. Agenda item number 14, Japanese knotweed. Verbal report from the town clerk, please.
Mayor, yes. Good news in that the work, the first treatment has now been carried out on the Japanese knotweed. This included injection into the crowns and spraying. And I'm also pleased to inform you that the 2 neighbouring properties where the infection was also present have agreed to participate in the single treatment and will be contributing their share of the costs.
That's good news. I was going to ask you that question if the other ones had come forward and agreed to it. So, any questions on this from anybody? Meeting. Councillor Dankirk, please.
No, I'd just like to thank the clerk and the team for persevering with such what could be a large liability, and I'd like to propose that we note the report.
Thank you. I've got a proposer. And Councillor Anderson, please.
Seconded, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. All in favour, please show. That's carried. Thank you. Agenda item number 15, Remembrance Day Parade. Remembrance Day verbal report, please, from the town clerk.
Yes, Mayor. What I'll do is, if you recall, there was a letter that's come in regarding this agenda item, which I will read out and then deal with the response as part of the overall item. It's a letter from a resident, Mr. Kelly, and he said, for 100 years without fail, the people of this nation have gathered in groups at a set time on a set day to fall silent and remember the sacrifices made by their family, friends and complete strangers during times of conflict, sacrifices that were made to secure and protect all of us. The importance of this act of remembrance has been reinforced over the last 2 decades by the recent conflicts in Iraq and Afghanistan. I note and understand that you have already made or taken the difficult decision to cancel Remembrance Parade this year. Marching people around in close formation, even outside, must increase the risk of COVID transmission. While it's a responsible reaction in the current crisis to scale back official pageantry to lower the risks of spreading the virus, do the councillors believe that their duty this year is to provide a safe opportunity as practical for those who will be exercising those very freedoms that dearly bought, I, along with my family and certainly many others, will be paying my respects at 11 a.m. on Remembrance Sunday in a socially responsible way at the War Memorial at St. Matthew's Church, unless you provide another more suitable location and focal point, perhaps Tower Gardens or Central Peak. I see the Mayor will be attending a private event organised by you. But this day of all days is not one for exclusion or division. People must be allowed to gather in collective remembrance and trusted to act in a manner that respects the memory of those that we do honour. I ask you therefore, as Skegness Council, please help the residents of the town to do this in a safe way as regulations will allow. If COVID restrictions still allow an event at the Cenotaph in London, then surely they must permit one in our own town. He then goes on with a poem which, by a soldier, which I won't go into now. I'll give a general response from where the working group has got to. And the working group's been working for several months and agonising over how it could facilitate an act of remembrance that not only meets the government regulations, but also is safe for the people of Skegness. And after many meetings and discussions, and I know the hard work put in by some councillors and by the British Legion and the church and others that have been involved, all parties agreed and regrettably came to the decision that with the number of COVID-19 cases now rapidly growing again, it's impossible to hold an event this year that's safe and where the council could guarantee that the virus wouldn't be spread. I mean, I think everybody recognises that individuals can, of course, mark the remembrance in their own way. And they should be mindful, if they're going to gather at places like the Cenotaph, that not to gather in groups of more than 6, to ensure social distance rules and to follow any government guidelines. I looked at the government websites this afternoon just to see that if there was any updates. There is still no guidance on remembrance, and bear in mind that we're only now a few weeks away from that date. The British Legion's own position is still that regrettably no parades should go forward, and that unless there's a significant change or government say something different to that, then that's how their position is going to remain. I looked at the London Cenotaph Remembrance Sunday details, and they are planning, they haven't released the full details, but they're planning something that is going to be significantly scaled back with far fewer people in attendance. And of course, they've got all of the resources of the police and the armed forces and everybody else at their disposal to make sure that's as safe as possible. So the decision, at the group, it was recognised that something should happen, and it was felt that the mayor laying a wreath at a small gathering with just members of the British Legion, I think the Burma Star, representatives of the Burma Star, and those key people in a group of, a very, very small group, could be done at a private time. If it's announced, then you're going to get crowds gathering, and that will be, not controllable. So it's going to be done privately at a time to be agreed between the British Legion, the mayor, the church, and a few others who will be involved. And the plan is to record that and put it out on social media to show that Skegness hasn't forgotten, has remembered. There will also be, again, a small church service, which will be invite only from the church, which the mayor can attend and, again, participate in that. And they will record that service and put that service out on social media as well. So those are the plans. I mean, I've heard many ideas about how people could commemorate and remember on the day, whether that's being at home and watching it on TV, because there will be something on TV from London. Perhaps putting something in a window, be a poppy in a window. I've heard, other people have suggested perhaps something similar to the NHS clapping. There are things that people can do and can arrange to show that the people who gave their life haven't been forgotten. But I'm sure that none of those people who lost their lives want others to put their lives at risk, and especially the lives of the many elderly people who normally attend the parade and, from year to year. They wouldn't want to see them put their lives at risk to remember them. That wasn't what it was all about, I'm sure. So I wanted to update council with where the group had got to and how we can move forward with it.
Thank you, Chairman Clark. We've had several meetings, and it was really hard to come to that decision. We're not going to forget anything. This will take place and be put out there for the public to see on social media and things, and the church service. And on the 11th day, I shall be attending myself and laying a wreath at the cenotaph on the official day. So I can assure the residents that Skegness will be paying its respects on that day. I will be there in my mask, rain or shine, I will be there. Councillor Anderson, please.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Can I concur with yourself and also the town clerk? Yes, it was sad to hear that letter from Mr. Kelly and what he had to say. And I agree with you. We cannot forget. History won't allow us to forget what people died for, so we can live. And here we are today, making tough decisions that we don't want to take. But this virus has forced us to make these decisions. We have a duty of care to look after our residents, and we worked immensely hard trying to make it work. And I have to say, especially Councillor Finlay, who went that extra to actually put a plan together to actually make it work. And we all came round and tried to make it work as hard as we could. But the disease is growing. and it's getting stronger. Only tonight, as I said before, the Assistant Director of Public Health in Lincolnshire is very much concerned about group gatherings, whether it be in the open air, in pubs, after pubs, in houses, whatever. The disease is just across the water from us now, or across the boundary in Nottinghamshire. It's increasing at a growing rate, and people commute into Nottinghamshire from Lincolnshire, as you know, Mr. Mayor. People shop in Nottinghamshire from Skegness, etc. But we have a duty of care, as what the clerk says, to protect the most vulnerable, and the most vulnerable are the over 60s. I do not want to see a resident die before their time in an awful state of like being out of a fish out of water, struggling for breath. Do we really want that, to impose that on people? No, we don't. And we have a duty of care to protect our residents. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Dennis?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to thank you and Councillor Finlay and all the people on the committee. I think you've done a great job, and I think you've agonised, but I think you've done the only thing you can do. It's the two words we need is common sense, and you've used common sense, and it's ideal. You can do no more. You know, it is an older demographic, as the town clerk alluded to, and as Councillor Anderson alluded to. There was no other decision you could have ever made to keep people safe. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for doing your bit on the 11th. That's brilliant, on the Sunday, whatever date it is. I think you've done a great job, but you've come to the only decision that's absolutely right and proper. And congratulations to you. I know it's been very agonising for you all. I've had nothing to do with the committee. As you know, I've got health issues myself, but I will say that you've got through it and you've come to the correct decision. And it's two words, it's common sense. And you've got to look after people, and that's what we have to do as councillors. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Dennis. Councillor Trevor Burnham.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to say on behalf of the working group, a big thanks to Councillor Adrian Finlay for putting on a lot of late nights on the phone, including myself. We used to have a chat every night. Even myself, I was talking to the first aid company that were actually on holiday in Turkey 2 weeks before we made the decision. And one of the guys actually came on Zoom while he was on holiday. But at the end of the day, Skegness and the councillors.
We've lost you. Councillor Burnham, we've lost you. Your audio.
Yeah, still here. Yeah, I just like.
Sorry,
did you hear that?
No. Can you, if you turn your video, stop your video, and then that might help you. You're just losing a bit of connectivity. Sorry.
Okay, just briefly, I'd like to say on behalf of the working group, a big thanks to Adrian Finlay. We both had many a late night phone call, even phone calls to Turkey. The first aid company were on holiday the week before, but they did manage to get onto Zoom at the last meeting. But at the end of the day, Skegness and the Skegness councillors, we will remain.
Just clicked his microphone off now. It's all going wrong for you. Councillor Burnham.
Yeah, don't worry. Carry on.
Okay, well, thank you for your kind words. Councillor Saxon, you've got a blue hand up on your screen, but would you like to say a few words? Probably shouldn't have his hand up. But I would like to thank you, Councillor Finlay, as well. All your hard work. And it won't go wasted because, you know, you'll use it again next year. So it won't be wasted. All the planning you did, it will all work out. So, you know, I thank you for all your effort. We had everything in place. I want to reassure everybody, we tried to get this to happen. Everything from signage to hand sanitizers to funding, we had it all in place. And it wasn't the result we wanted, but we needed to deliver a safe outcome. And this is the safe outcome. And as I said, I will pay my respects on the day and represent the council and everybody around the table. Councillor Saxon.
Yeah, thank you, Michael. Big thanks to all the committee, and it's put hours and hours and hours into it. And I know that, you know, and yourself, it's a difficult decision, But we tried to do it, but unfortunately we failed. And let's hope next year's better. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Councillor Danny Brooks.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I'd just like to thank the committee, yourself, Councillor Finley, who I know has put in a tremendous amount of work, the clerk and the team as well. I don't think we've failed. I don't think you failed. I don't think we failed. I think we've done our absolute best to get this to happen, and we will make it happen next year. I don't think we've failed. We've postponed it. Thank you.
Thank you. That's the verbal report then, and as I said, I can honestly say on behalf of the Town Council to the residents of Skegness and the surrounding areas, I will be paying my respects on the day. As well as the service lookout for it, it will be shown. Okay, moving on to agenda item number 16, the HR committee vacancy. To appoint the HR committee to fill the vacancy arisen due to councillor resigning. I've got 3 hands up, but I think Councillor Dennis and Councillor Saxon's left them up from last time. So Councillor Anderson, please.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to nominate Councillor Finlay.
Okay, thank you.
To go on to the HR committee. Sorry.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Cunnington.
Second that, Mr. Mayor.
Oh, we're moving along lovely. Councillor Burnham. Oh no,
yeah, I was just going to second that.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Findlay.
Thank you very much for your nomination.
Thank you. Right, well, you've been nominated and it's been proposed and seconded, so we'll go to the vote. Okay, that's carried. Thank you. Welcome on board to the HR committee, Councillor Adrian Finlay. Agenda item number 17, Christmas opening hours for council office. To note that the town council office will close at 4:30 p.m. on Wednesday, the 23rd of December 2020, and reopen on Monday, the 4th of January 2021. Office employees will take annual leave, including statutory days, to cover this period. Councillor Burnham. Councillor Burnham.
Sorry, I left my hand up.
Okay, Councillor Cunnington.
No, it's all right. My hand was left up. Sorry.
Councillor Dankirk.
Yeah, I'd like to propose that the council adopts those opening hours.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Anderson.
Yeah, happy enough to second it.
Okay, thank you. All go for the vote, please. All in favour, please show. Thank you, that's carried. Agenda item number 18, the town fund application to follow. To update council on the application made to the town's fund board for the Tower Gardens.
Mayor, yes, I sent a copy of the actual submission form around by email to everybody in the last day or so. I wanted to send that out because to make sure that everybody was aware of the detail that gone into that. As I explained to Councillor Ty and the mayor at the time, to take the essence, if you like, of what council had discussed and fit that into the town fund application form, which was a bit prescriptive, and with the guidance that any application that we made was going to have to fit in with the town centre refurbishment project. So we had to fit that in. So hopefully you've had a chance to have a look at that. As you will see that in essence it is both a sensory and heritage trail that's gone in. The heritage element was because that is the weight of the application process. But in terms of, there's also an accessibility element as well. So I've managed, I used that to then add in the sensory element. So that any information around the heritage trail will also have a sensory element to it. and thus be beneficial to those with sensory impairment. I can take any questions that people have got. At this stage, I don't know how the overall documents, the detailed documents are, so I've asked that they be kept private for now. But once we understand the Towns Fund process a bit more and whether those can be released, then they can be published at that point.
Thank you. Councillor Anderson.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. First and foremost, I need to thank the town clerk and also Councillor Cunnington for bringing it to the town council's attention in the first place when he brought in that report that stimulated the bid to go in. The town clerk and actually putting together the whole issue about the Tower Gardens and submitting it as part of the bid for the town's fund application. I think it's an exciting bid. I'm excited about it because, why am I excited about it? Because it's one area of Skegness that is free and access for all, regardless of disabilities, etc. So they have an exciting experience in the only place that is free for use in Skegness for both the residents and also the visitors to our town. I think if you look back at our forefathers in Skegness, they will be proud of us, of what has been achieved if we get this bid. I think they'll be proud of us now, what has been achieved in Tower Gardens, from where it was to where it is now and how it's moved forward. I think it is an absolute nugget, a gold nugget, what we've achieved so far as a town council in Tower Gardens. But I think this is the beginning. The only issue, as what the town clerk has raised, if we're successful in actually getting this bid, then there comes the hard crux of the revenue factor of maintaining it. But that's up for another debate on another day. But well done to everybody, especially the two people that I've named. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Anderson. Councillor Danny Brooks.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to thank the clerk and his team for the fast work. I know we didn't give him a lot to go on, and I think he's done a fantastic job. I'd like to thank people on the Towns Board for accepting it and pushing it through as well. So that's basically it. I think everyone's worked hard on it, and Skegness deserves it. Thank you.
I fully agree with you, and I'd like to thank the team as well for all their hard work. I was actually in the office signing some paperwork yesterday, and just looking out at the bandstand, the beautiful flowers around it. It was proud to be a part of it, because and I was made aware that one of our workers actually grew them from seeds during the shutdown period, and they absolutely look beautiful. So a big praise to everybody involved. Do we have somebody to note this report, or has anybody else got any questions for the town clerk? Councillor Danny Brooks.
I'll note the report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'll second it.
Thank you. All in favour, please show. That's carried. Right, that brings us to the end of tonight's meeting. I'd like to thank everybody if you've tuned in. Hope you've got some of the answers. And like I said, everything's still ongoing and everything is on for the Remembrance Parade. So I'd like to thank every one of you for your time and effort and all the work that you do. And I wish you good night, and I'd say stay safe.